UFC Fight Night card France versus Albazi is this weekend. I'm going to give you a full card prediction and breakdown from the beginning of the card, which is, was it the early prelims to the main event. I don't, was there 13 fights on this card? Some of them are pretty solid. A couple of them, I'm like, what the hell even is this? Like, this is just a piss break or whatever. But it is a solid card. I'm kind of excited about it. Some very interesting matchups on the card. And if you're a betting guy, there are some decent odds here for you to do some parlays or if you like some straight bets. So this might be a decent card to bet on in general. But without further ado, let's get right into the video. We have Maxim Grishin versus Philipe Lins. Grishin 32 and 9 and 2. 39 years of age, 76 inches of reach. Lins 16 and 5, 37 years of age, 78 inches of reach. Lins will have a 2-inch reach advantage in this matchup. For this one, I'm not too sure. I feel like this one can kind of go either way. For Maxim Grishin, he's kind of a guy that's very patient, likes to stay on the outside and kind of pick his shots. He's got some really decent power. I believe he was a heavyweight, and he's coming down here. His last fight was against William Knight a year ago, year and 3 months. I believe William Knight did miss weight as well, and he did beat him up pretty badly. Lost to Dustin Jacoby, beat Gadzimurad Antugulov, and won by KO. I hope I said that right. But Philipe Lins, a guy that kind of just, I don't want to say rushes in, but he's a very aggressive fighter. Will kind of hunt you down a little bit more. He has really good hands as well. He has really good power in his hands. His last fight looked really good against Open State Prue, won by KO, I believe, in the first round as well, rather pretty quickly. Yeah, 49 seconds in the round one. Looked really good there. Tapology, 41% for Lins, 59% for Grishin. I'm going to go with Philipe Lins. I think he's a decent underdog here. I think this one could go either way, but I am going to trust Lins a little bit more. He's 37 years of age, almost 38 though. He's 37 years of age, 39 years of age for Grishin. It's kind of one of those weirder fights, but I'm going to go with Lins here. I think I trust him a little bit more. I think he's going to put the pressure on, maybe mix in a couple takedowns. I don't think he's going to get him, but I think just more putting him in the clinch, being a little bit more aggressive, and maybe does catch Maxim Grishin at some point and does put him away in the second or third round. But I am going to go with Philipe Lins in this matchup. Up the card, we have Luan Lacerda versus Damon Blackshear. Lacerda, 12 and 2, 30 years of age, 73 inches of reach. Blackshear, 12 and 5, 28 years of age, and 72 inches of reach. Lacerda will have a 1-inch reach advantage in this matchup. I think I'm going to go with Luan Lacerda in this matchup. Damon Blackshear is actually a pretty solid fighter. He made his debut against Yusuf Zalal and won, not won, but that fight was a draw. I think I picked him in that matchup to win, and a lot of people were picking Zalal on that one. So it was a decent pick, I guess, because he got a draw, but I think he ended up getting like a 10-8, and Zalal got the other 2 rounds or something like that. But ended up losing to Farid Basharat in his last fight. The Basharat brothers are pretty good fighters. They're pretty technical. They're kind of like the Bonfim brothers. I think I put the Bonfim brothers a little bit higher because they have like that power in general. But the Basharat brothers are very technical, very good fighters. They're definitely on that either higher level of unranked or at least in the top 15 at some point. I do like Javid a little bit more than Farid, but Farid is still a very technical fighter in general. But Damon Blackshear lost to him in that matchup, made it decently competitive, but Farid Basharat ended up winning. Luan Lacerda in his debut, a lot of people thought he did beat Cody Stamann on the feet, which is very interesting because he was definitely a ground guy for sure. I picked Cody Stamann. I basically said, Stamann, you got to keep this one on the feet if you want to win this matchup, because Lacerda is very dangerous on the ground, and I didn't really trust a Stamann going to the ground, especially after that Saeed matchup where he kind of just got caught in a choke looking for a takedown. But he did end up winning that matchup. But some people thought Luan Lacerda would win that matchup. Luan Lacerda actually looked pretty decent on the feet in that matchup. He didn't look too crazy on the feet in the regionals, like in his LFA matches. I wasn't too excited about what he did on the feet. But I think he's very dangerous on the ground here. I can see Damon Blackshear taking him to the ground, and I think Luan Lacerda submits him in this matchup. I have Luan Lacerda by submission, first or second round submission. Let's see, 75% Tapology for Lacerda, 25% for Blackshear. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Lacerda in this matchup. Blackshear is not that bad, but I think Lacerda is really good on the ground, and I think he can definitely hold his own on the feet. So I'm gonna go with Lacerda by submission, probably second round submission in this one. Up the card, we have Jinh versus Elise Reed. Jinh 11 and 8, 38 years of age and 65 inches of reach. Elise Reed, 6'3", 30 years of age and 63 inches of reach. Ginger Fry will have a 2-inch reach advantage. Just one of these matchups where, like, all right, I'm going to go make some food or go to the restroom. I'm not too excited about this one in general. Elise Reed, last fight coming off a loss to Nurmagomedov, which isn't a bad loss to necessarily have. Nurmagomedov is actually a pretty solid fighter. Beat Melissa Martinez, who I think I picked her to win that matchup. Melissa Martinez. So I guess kind of surprised me there, but won that one by decision. Lost to Sam Hughes by KO. Beat Corey McKenna by split decision. Lost to Sierra Eubanks by KO. This is the kind of fighter we're looking at here. It's kind of like in a certain level, so this one could be decently competitive. But Ginger Fry is 38 years old. Last fight, she got KO'd pretty badly by Polyana Viana. Lost to Vanessa Demopoulos by split decision, which isn't that great of a loss in general. But losing to Sam Hughes isn't great either. But I'm going to go with Elise Reed. I think she's going to be better on the feet here. Maybe she does end up hurting Ginger Fry a little bit more here. But I think the safe bet is to go. Not safe bet, but I think the safe pick for this matchup is a decision for Elise Reed in this matchup. I think she definitely wins this one for sure. But it's women's MMA, so it can definitely go the other way. But I'm going to go with Elise Reed in this matchup. Up the card, we have Daniel Santos versus Johnny Munoz Jr. Santos, 10-2, 28 years of age, 67 inches of reach. Munoz, 12-2, 30 years of age, 71 inches of reach. Munoz will have a 4-inch reach advantage in this matchup. I'm going to go with Daniel Santos. I really like his style. In case you don't know, he does train with Shootbox Diego Lima, and he's very similar to Charles Oliveira fighting style. So this one's going to be a very entertaining fight just because that fighting style is just an entertaining one to watch, because basically he's going to walk you down, he's going to pressure you, and he's going to eat all the shots you give him, and he's going to try to return back with them with their pretty crazy offense in general. Like, he does fight very similarly to a Charles Oliveira. It's very interesting. It looks like a little mini Charles Oliveira in that one, but he does pressure quite a bit. He does have some pretty good hands. Of course, they have good grappling as well, so if this one does end up going to the ground, I do trust Daniel Santos, and I think he does put the pressure on Johnny Munoz. I think Johnny Munoz maybe does land some good shots early on here, but I think Daniel Santos is going to pressure, going to land some good shots. Looked pretty good in his last matchup against John Castañeda. Obviously ate some good shots. I think he got hurt early on as well, which is basically the Charles Oliveira thing to do. You get hurt, and then you just power yourself up and win the matchup. But he made his debut against Julio Arce. Ended up losing that matchup, but did look good in his last matchup. Johnny Munoz, last fight was against Ludovic Shalinian 6 months ago. Ended up winning that one by decision and then lost by KO to Tony Gravely. I'm going to go with Daniel Santos by KO. Second round KO for Daniel Santos. A lot of people are taking him by KO as well. 85% for Santos in this matchup. Minus 200 favorite. I think Daniel Santos is the right way to go for this one. By KO in the second round. Only 28 years old as well, so hopefully we can get some really good entertaining fights out of him. But I'm going to go with Santos. Up the card, we have Andrei Arlovski versus Dontel Mays. Arlovski, 34 and 21, 44 years of age, 77 inches of reach. Mays, 9-5, 31 years of age, 81 inches of reach. Mays will have a 4-inch reach advantage in this matchup. I think I'm going to go with Andrei Arlovski. I don't know. This is one of these matchups where it just feels really weird. I don't know necessarily who to go with. Dontel Mays, you can't really trust him, especially recently. Lost to Augusto Sakai. I guess this one ended up being getting turned over because I believe Hamdi Abdulwahab did test positive, right? He did lose that fight. Before then, beat Josh Parisian by KO. Beat Rockman Martinez by decision. Lost to Rodrigo Nascimento by submission. Andrei Arlovski in his last matchup. The only reason why this, I think, is a little bit harder to choose is because in his last matchup, he got dropped by absolutely nothing. Like a gust of a wind. Took out Andrei Arlovski in his last matchup against Marcos Rogerio de Lima, and he ended up getting submitted on the ground. So it's just one of these matchups. He's 44 years old. It's hard to necessarily trust a guy that old. It's hard to trust Dontel Mays in general. I think I'm gonna go with Andrei Arlovski. I think he's a certain level of fighter. Beat Jake Collier by split decision. Beat Jared Van Dura by split decision. Beat Carlos Philipe by decision. Beat Chase Sherman by decision. I think he beats Dontel Mays by decision. But honestly, Mays might be an actually. He's not even an underdog. It looks like Andrei Arlovski's an underdog. I wonder if the lines moved a little bit. But Arlovski, 81% picked in this one to win by decision, plus 100 underdog. If underdog money, not underdog money, but if Dontel Mays becomes an underdog, this might not be a bad guy to pick in general, but I'm just going to go with Andrei Arlovski. I trust him a little bit more, even though he did get knocked down by Gustav to win last fight. I do trust him a little bit more in this matchup, I guess. I don't know. That fight was 6 months ago as well, so he's got some time if he really did get hurt. 2 months, what was that? It's more like 3 months for Dontel Mays. So I'm going to go with Andrei Arlovski by decision. I'm not too crazy about the pick, but it's just one of those fights. This one could definitely flip. Up the card, we have John Castañeda versus Muin Gafurov. Castañeda, 19-6, 31 years of age, 69 inches of reach. Gafurov, 18-4, 27 years of age, 68 inches of reach. Castañeda will have a 1-inch reach advantage in this matchup. I am going to go with Muin Gafurov. I think he's pretty solid on the feet. I like when you watch him, he does look a little like he's still kind of learning there, because it like the techniques he uses is like very interesting. Like it doesn't feel clean. Like when he throws his punches, it doesn't seem really clean, but he's really slick on the feet. And I think he could get a finish here. I think he is pretty solid on the ground too. He has really good top control. In his last fight, he was hurting Diego Silva a lot on the feet. I believe he was hurting Herbert. What was that name? Herbert Souza on the feet as well. But spinning back kick to the body, does have some really crisp body shots, landed some really good body shots on Diego Silva as well. So I'm going to go with Muin Gafurov. John Castañeda coming off a loss to Daniel Santos by KO. Beat Miles John by submission. Beat Eddie Wineland by KO, which are guys you should probably be beating at that point. But losing to Daniel Santos kind of put him in his place a little bit more. He did lose to Nathaniel Wood, who is a good loss to have, I guess, in general. Did beat Marcelo Rojo, so he is at a certain level. But I think Muin Gafurov is actually a pretty solid fighter. 27 years of age as well. 31 years of age for John Castañeda, but I think Gafurov is definitely going to be coming in here with the more raw and a more, I don't want to say experienced, but I think he's actually going to look really good in this matchup. And I think he has a lot to learn as well. Not in a bad way, but he has more to learn, so he's just going to keep getting better. 69% for Gafurov, 31% for Castañeda. There is a chance that Castañeda can win this matchup, but I do feel kind of comfortable with Gafurov. 70% that are choosing Gafurov are saying by KO. I think I agree in this matchup. I think he does piece up Castañeda with like a late second round or third round KO in this matchup. I think he does beat up Castañeda pretty badly, especially after watching that last matchup against Daniel Santos. I think Gafurov does get it done on the feet. Up the card, we have Elizeu Zaleski versus Abubakar Nurmagomedov. Zaleski, 23-7, 36 years of age, 73 inches of reach. Nurmagomedov, 17-3, 33 years of age, and 73 inches of reach. There's going to be no reach advantage for either one of these fighters. Elizeu Zaleski, last fight was a year and 6 months ago against Benoit Saint-Denis. I believe he did beat the crap out of Benoit Saint-Denis in that matchup. I think that was the fight where the ref kind of just got canned on the card exactly after that, because Benoit Saint-Denis was taking so many punches, and it was very bad actually watching that matchup. He took a lot of heavy punches. He should have been out way earlier, and the ref was kind of just chilling in there. So yeah, and the commentary was going crazy as well about the ref. So yeah, that was a very interesting matchup there. Alassane Muslim Salikov by split decision. Beat Alexei Kunichenko by decision. Lost to Jingliang Li by KO there. Abubakar, last fight, beat Omar Gadziev. I can never say that name for some reason. Beat Jared Gooden by decision. Lost to David Zawada by triangle. For Abubakar, I believe I did take Abubakar in that last fight against Omar Gadziev. Just looking at his odds real quick. I think I picked the underdog on him. Oh no, Omar Gadziev was the underdog. But I did pick Abubakar in that last match. I think a lot of people were picking Omar Gadziev in that matchup to beat Abubakar. But I think Abubakar does use his wrestling and grappling here, and I think he does just control Elizeu Zaleski by a decision here. I think he just controls him there. It is a closer fight. Zaleski 43%, on Tapology 57% for Abubakar. I am going to take Abubakar in this matchup. It is evens, at least the odds right now on Tapology. 33 years of age for Abubakar, 36 years of age for Zaleski. His last fight was 6 months ago. Zaleski's last fight was a year and 6 months ago. Did look good against Benoit St. Denis, who was a pretty solid fighter, but I don't know. I think Abubakar does use his wrestling. I think he does control this one to a decision. So I'm going to go with Abubakar by a decision. Up the card, we have Guram Kutateladze versus Jamie Mullarkey. Kutateladze, 12-3, 31 years of age, 72 inches of reach. Mullarkey, 16-5, 28 years of age, 74 inches of reach. Mullarkey will have a 2-inch reach advantage in this matchup. Guram Kutateladze last fight was a loss to Damir Ismagulov by split decision. A lot of people, or quite a few people, actually think he won this fight. So, pretty close fight with a top 15 opponent in Damir Ismagulov. Damir Ismagulov is a very good fighter. For Mateusz Gamrot, beat him by split decision, top 10 fighter himself, and then beat Philipe Silva at Brave CF. For Jamie Mullarkey, last fight was against Francisco Parado, won by decision. Beat Michael Johnson by split decision. I thought Michael Johnson won this fight, but it was a pretty close fight in general, so I don't mind it going to Jamie Mullarkey, but I thought Michael Johnson definitely could have gotten the nod there. Did lose to Jalen Turner, who is a top 10, I think. I believe Jalen Turner is in the top 10 at this point. Lost to Jalen Turner by KO. Beat Devontae Smith by KO. For Guram Kutateladze, he's definitely been better against a higher skilled opponent. We've seen Jamie Mullarkey fight a top 15 opponent and he lost. And we have Guram Kutateladze making it very close with Damir Ismagulov and then winning against Mateusz Gamrot, who is in the top 10. I think Guram Kutateladze gets this one done. Even Mateusz Gamrot beat Jalen Turner in general. So if you want to use a little bit of MMA math, Guram Kutateladze should beat Jamie Mullarkey. Jamie Mullarkey is a pretty tough guy in general, but 86% for Kutateladze, 44% by KO, 46% for decision for the guys choosing Kutateladze in this matchup. But I think he could get this one done by decision. I think Jamie Mullarkey's tough. I could see this being a finish or a decision in general. Minus 340 for Kutateladze. I think that should be about right there, but I think he does get this one done. I'm not sure how, though. I think I'm going to say a decision, but he can definitely get a finish. Up the card, we have Karine Silva versus Ketlen Souza. Silva, 15-4, 29 years of age, 67 inches of reach. Souza, 13-3, 27 years of age. I think I'm going to go with Karine Silva in this matchup. She's actually looked pretty decent in the UFC. Made her debut on the UFC Dana White Contender Series against Quihi Yan, I think is how you say that. I don't know. Won by submission there by guillotine. Beat Polania Botelho by decision or by submission in that matchup. I believe just looking at her record, I think the majority of her fights that she has won have been by finish. She has 0 decision wins. All of them are by finish. 8 wins by KO, 7 wins by submission. Her losses have been 1 by TKO, 2 by submissions and 1 by unanimous decision. So she's got one at every chart, is what we're going to say here. But she has won by finish in all of her matchups that she has won. So I think she does beat Ketlen Souza in this matchup, who is making her debut from Invicta FC. Christina Williams, she beat by decision. Beat Maji Suotama by decision. I just think Karine Silva gets this one done. Maybe submission is the best bet here too as well. 89% for Silva. I think she does get a finish on the ground. So we're going to go Karine Silva by submission, but it is women's MMA. In general, well, Karine Silva is a decent fighter, so I won't put that on this one. Maybe we'll keep it for Jinh Frey and Elise Reed, but I'm going to go with Karine Silva in this one. Up the card, we have Tim Elliott versus Victor Altamirano. Elliott, 18-12, 36 years of age, 67 inches of reach. Altamirano, 12-2, 32 years of age, and 70.5 inches of reach. Altamirano will have a 3.5-inch reach advantage in this matchup. I think I'm going to go with Tim Elliott. Victor Altamirano is a very weird fighter to watch. Beat Vinicius Salvador by decision. Very interesting fight there. Beat Daniel Lacerda by KO ground and pound. He was getting beat up pretty badly before then. And lost to Carlos Hernandez by decision. And then beat Carlos Canario by decision as well in the Dana White Contender Series. For Tim Elliott, he is going through a little bit of stuff right now. Last fight beat Tagir Ulanbekov. I think that was the fight where Khabib kind of went a little crazy in the corner, was freaking out a little bit more. And that matchup was a pretty interesting fight in general. But yeah, beat Tagir Ulanbekov, which is a pretty solid win. Lost to Mateus Nicolau by decision, who is, I believe Mateus Nicolau is at least top 10. I'm not sure if he's exactly top 5, but he's top 10. Beat Jordan Espinoza beat Ryan Benoit. I'm going to go with Tim Elliott. If you thought, hear me out, he is going through some stuff right now. But if you thought Divorce Dern was a problem, Tim Elliott at 36 years of age, going through what he's going through right now, with his wife cheating on him with one of his closer friends, Tim Elliott's going to be a problem. If you thought Divorce Dern was going to be a problem, Tim Elliott's going to be an animal in there. We'll just say that. 32 years of age. He is kind of an older fighter, 36 years of age for Tim Elliott, but 32 years of age for Victor Altamirano. He is a weird fighter in general. So I'll kind of make this a little bit even. Tim Elliott's a dog in the cage. He's going to be even a bigger dog now. So I'm going to go with Tim Elliott in this matchup, 69%. Say they're going to pick him. I think he does win by a decision as well. 31% for Victor Altamirano. I can't really trust Altamirano. He's a very weird fighter. So I'm going to go with Tim Elliott, but I'm going to be rooting for Tim Elliott for sure. Victor Altamirano is a pretty decent fighter, even though he's really weird on the feet. He is a pretty solid fighter. So I'm going to go with Tim Elliott. But yeah, he's going to win this one by decision. Up the card, we have Jim Miller versus Jared Gordon. Jim Miller, 35-17, 39 years of age, 71 inches of reach. Gordon, 19-6, 34 years of age, 68 inches of reach. Jim Miller will have a 3-inch reach advantage in this matchup. I'm going to go with Jared Gordon in this matchup. I trust him to win this, but his last fight, he did lose by KO in general. It was an accidental clash of heads, but the fight did stop. Bobby Green didn't put him kind of out cold a little bit. With those extra shots at the end there, but he took a lot of damage only 3 weeks ago. Didn't actually get hit that much. It was really just the accidental clash of heads that put him down, and then Bobby Green put him out with his hands on the ground. Lost to Patty Pimblett, which he clearly should have won. Beat Leonardo Santos by decision. Lost to Grant Dawson by submission, which isn't a bad loss. I believe Grant Dawson is ranked. Beat Joe Selecti by split decision. Jim Miller, last fight was against Alex Hernandez. He did lose that one by decision. I did pick Jim Miller in that matchup, but Alex Hernandez did look pretty good over 3 rounds, actually paced himself out in that one. So you can't really hold it too much against Jim Miller. Jim Miller did beat Donald Cerrone by submission, did beat Nicholas Mota by KO, beat Eric Gonzalez by KO. So he is kind of taking out these newer guys, but I think Jared Gordon is definitely a step up in competition than some of these other guys that he has beaten. I won't say Donald Cerrone, but Nicholas Mota and Eric Gonzalez, which he got KOs over. I think Jared Gordon's definitely a step up there. It is kind of concerning that he did get KO'd like 4 weeks ago, and he's taking this fight against Jim Miller, and Jim Miller has some weird power in his hands. But plus 200 for Jim Miller might be interesting here. But I'm going to go with Jared Gordon. I think I'm going to say Jared Gordon by decision. He doesn't really finish guys in general. Let's look at the stats real quick for his wins. The majority of his wins are by decision here. 11 by decision. I believe. How many does he have? 6 wins by KO. TKO. I'm going to go with Jared Gordon by decision in this matchup. 59%, you could say Gordon. 41% say Miller. The only reason why I think it's close is because he got hurt very badly against Bobby Green. Was landing some really good shots on Bobby Green. Bobby Green did not look good at all in that matchup. Looked really sloppy. And Jared Gordon put some hands on him, for sure. So he's landing some really good shots on Bobby Green before the accidental head clash that put him out. But I am going to go with Jared Gordon by decision here. Up the card, we have Alex Caceres versus Daniel Pineda. Caceres, 20-13, 34 years of age, 73.5 inches of reach. Pineda, 28-14, 37 years of age, and 70 inches of reach. Alex Caceres will have a 3.5-inch reach advantage in this matchup. I think I am going to go with Caceres. The last fight, he landed a really nice knockout blow on Juliana Rosa, head kick KO. Lost to Sadiq Youssef by decision, which isn't a bad loss to necessarily have. I believe Sadiq Youssef is ranked. Beat Sungwoo Choi by submission, beat Kevin Kroon by decision, and then beat Austin Springer by submission. For Daniel Pineda, last fight was a submission win over Tucker Lutz, which I thought Tucker Lutz was going to win that one. But the Andre Philly one ended in an accidental eye poke. Lost to Cub Swanson by KO. Beat Herbert Burns by KO, which you should be doing, is beating Herbert Burns. He's not that good. But I guess he's good on the ground, but he's not good in general. I am going to go with Alex Caceres, though. I think he does land some really good shots on Daniel Pineda, and maybe does get the KO here. He could get the finish. He could get the submission. Caceres is one of those fighters where he's a pretty good fighter all around. I don't know if he'll necessarily get like the top 15 ranking, but he'll definitely be out there in the unranked area for sure. But 89% for Caceres, 11% for Pineda. I am going to go with Caceres here. I think he does end up getting the finish, maybe later in the fight, second or third round. I think he does land some really good shots on Daniel Pineda and then ends up TKOing them. So I'm going to go with Alex Caceres by TKO. Minus 175 favorite here, plus 140 underdog for Daniel Pineda here. So do with that what you will, but I am going to go with Alex Caceres. Up the card, we have Kaikar France versus Amir Albazi. Kaikar France, 24-10, 30 years of age, 66.5 inches of reach. Albazi, 16-1, 29 years of age, 68 inches of reach. Albazi will have a 1.5 inch reach advantage in this matchup. Kaikar France last fight was a loss to Brandon Moreno. He did kind of make it close. I think I had it 2-0 Moreno, but it easily could have been 1-1. I think even the judges had him winning on one of the cards. It was very interesting scorecard in general, but he beat Askar Askarov, which I will get to in a second. Beat him by decision. Beat Cody Garbrandt by TKO. Beat Rogerio Bontorum by KO, and then but lost to Brandon Royval by submission. Amir Albazi, last fight you won against Alessandro Costa by KO. I believe that was in the second or third round of that fight. Let me check real quick. Third round of that fight. Beat Francisco Figueiredo by submission. Beat Zaglas Numagula by decision. Beat Malcolm Gordon by submission. So he's had some pretty solid fights. I don't know. He's ranked number 7 in the flyweight division, which I don't understand why some of these guys like Bakayev and even Amir Albazi. Like, I like Albazi. I think he's a very solid fighter. I think he could potentially be very good as well. 29 years of age if he puts it together. But I feel like these guys don't warrant some of these rankings. Even like a Makayev, he's fighting debut guys and he's getting high ranks. But in the rankings in general. But for this matchup, I am going to go Kaikar France. I think he did really well against Askar Askarov. I believe that was the first or the only loss that he gave to Askar Askarov. That's the only loss on Askar Askarov's record. He's 14-1. Last fight was against Kaikar France and kind of just retired there. But I am going to go Kaikar France. Looked really good in that matchup. Defended the takedowns really well. I think him in general just matches up really well against guys that I don't want to say are one-dimensional in the wrestling and grappling, but I will say that don't have as much of a developed stand-up game as some of these other guys that are a little bit more balanced everywhere. I think Amir Albazi is decent on the feet, but it's nothing to get crazy about. Like, let's be real. In his last fight against Alessandro Costa, it was like very even on the feet, and Alessandro Costa is not really that kind of guy on the feet. And Alessandro Costa was probably worrying about the takedown threat of Amir Albazi. So, and Amir Albazi didn't really do much with that. So, like, he had the takedown threat opposed on Alessandro Costa, and he couldn't really do much on the feet until like the later half of this fight, which isn't necessarily a bad thing or a good thing. But I think if you're fighting a guy like Alessandro Costa, I think you get it done a little bit earlier, figure it out a little bit faster. I think one of these guys probably would have done that at Kaikar France or one of these top fighters. But I'm going to go Kaikar France. Does have a really good fight build in general to fight wrestlers and grapplers like Askar Askarov. Defended the takedowns really well. Like, had a really good takedown defense. Looked pretty incredible in general, actually. Got him the title shot, or the interim title shot against Brandon Moreno, but looked really good in that fight. I think he does kind of the same here. I think he defends all the takedowns of Amir Albazi. We've seen Kaikar France in 5 rounds before. I don't know if it's necessarily gone there, but Amir Albazi making his debut in the 5-round fights as a main event. I'm happy they kind of just made a flyweight main event. It's happier than what could have been like a women's MMA main event, but we still got home Silva. But I do think Kaikar France does get this one done. I don't know. I want to say a decision, but how many 5-round fights does Kaikar France really go to a decision in? Let's be real. Brandon Moreno was 5 rounds. Just looking at these other ones. That's actually only one up on the top of my head, actually. I think Kaikar France training for 5 rounds and having that experience before, being in the top fights, it's going to be kind of one of those guys, only 30 years old as well, 29 years of age for Amir Albazi. I just think Kaikar France defends his takedowns, looks good on the feet, and outtricks Amir Albazi. Amir Albazi did not look good in that Alessandro Costa fight. If Amir Albazi kind of wants to prove people wrong here. He has to do it against a guy like Kai France, who has really good takedown defense and who's really good on the feet as well. So Amir Albazi kind of just we have a bar for Kai France here. Amir Albazi, with what we've seen, I'm not going to choose him, but if he wants to be a guy in the top 5, he wins this matchup 100% and actually looks impressive here. So if he has a developed stand-up game from his last fight, which was 4 months ago, which I don't know if anything will be more developed there, but I am going to take Kai France. I just don't trust Amir Albazi on the feet to beat him. And I don't think he ends up getting takedowns against Kai France. Maybe I think this one, I'm going to go with a decision in this matchup, but it could definitely end in a finish. People are saying Kai France by KO TKO, which is very interesting. 54% for Kai France and 46% for Albazi. They're both minus 110 betting lines. I'm going to take Kai France here. I think this is like a pretty clear win for Kai France in general. I don't see where Amir Albazi is getting these evens here. I don't know. Like he won by KO against Alessandro Costa, beat Francisco Figueiredo by choking him out. Zaleski Magulov's a good win, but that was 2 years ago. I don't know. I'm going to go with Kai France here. He looked really good against Askar Askarov. I think he does the same thing to Amir Albazi in this matchup. So I'm going to go with Kai France. But yeah, that's what I got here. I don't know how they're evens in general. 54%, 46%. I think is very interesting. But I am going to go Kai France by decision. I think I've said that multiple times here. But tell me what you guys think down below in the comments. Who do you guys think wins between Kai France versus Amir Albazi? Let me know. And I'll see you guys next time.